The eviction is not due to you guys. Hey everybody, as you guys know, my name is Janaya in Malaysia, the autism mama. This is my journey right now facing the eviction. The eviction is not due to non-payment and just being inconsiderate of my bills. No.
The caption says 26-year-old mother of two facing an eviction.
The eviction is not due to non-payment and just being inconsiderate of my bills. No, it's for real serious issues that I felt like violated me and my children's safety. So at this point, I have to do what's best for me and my children and get us up out of here. I don't know where we're gonna go. I don't know what God hasn't planned for me and my children, but like I said, we do have crazy faith.
Y'all already know today I go to eviction court. Y'all, I've been doing so much research. I'm trying to see any and every way what I need to do in order to get them to extend this date. But somebody was like, you can appeal after you go to court and that'll extend your date because then you'll be making your payments through the court until you get another court date. So now I'm just like, how much is it? Because I still don't have the money for that. Like, I still don't have the money for that, baby. If you can help a sister out, donation link is in bio. If not, just comment, like the post, save it, and repost it. Anything helps. Y'all already know.
Yeah, but why does that help? That's the question. Why does that help? Because on one end, you need more time. But on the other end, you want more time in someone's property, but yet you don't want to pay them rent. Because what she's referring to with the appeal process, whenever you appeal, since you've already lost the case, now moving forward, while you continue to fight this, they want you to pay the prorated rent or just pay the month to month rent. That way, when you lose again, or if you lose again, because most people appeal and they really don't have a case, but when you lose again, ultimately that way they at least get that money, since it should have stopped right then and they should have been able to evict you. But here's my thing. She said that, oh, anything helps. I need you all's help. But then when we go here, you're on TikTok all day. You're on TikTok all day. So the question is, and you got a dog, it looks like. So the question becomes, look at this. See, this is how you know when somebody is like literally on it all day. When they have the same shirt on. You all don't even see. This is really like 4 panels right here. So this is really, look, when they have the same shirt on talking, that's how you know they're just going back to back to back to back. So you're on TikTok all day. Why can't you get a job? Why can't you get a second job? Why can't you just ultimately do what it takes? Is what we're trying to understand. Because you're coming online and you want a handout. Well, what other handouts do we think that eventually she's going to be going after? And it looks like she's able-bodied with no kids. Pretty soon she's going to be trying to see how she can finagle the government assistance program, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and get back into it, y'all. Before we do, if you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. Only takes a second, and it actually helps out more than you know. And it's really just a click, and everything helps. And then also if you could hype as well. But let's get back into it.
So we had court today for eviction. I've never went to court.
Her caption says, getting evicted with a newborn.
We had court today for eviction. I've never went to court for eviction, but it went exactly how I figured it would go. Nobody, judge didn't care. It was like 20 other people in the courtroom, and judge did not give a shit. She was just like, "You're evicted. Be out by this time. I'm in there with my baby." And she didn't give a shit, which I knew. I mean, I figured that would happen. This is what's wrong with America. Everybody's trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with America. This is what's wrong with America. But honestly, I hated the house, so I'm not really mad about it.
See, come on now. Really? The judge didn't give a ish? Did you go on the judge's brain and then did you uncover that the judge doesn't give a ish? Or is because the judge is doing her job, which is to be fair and impartial? And if it's an eviction case, that means that this isn't just about you. That means there is another party who was affected here, who took you to court, who isn't getting paid. And so the judge can't allow their personal feelings or biases to interfere or conflict with what the laws are. The judge has to act on behalf of the laws. So to then sit here and just say the judge didn't give a F, maybe, but you don't know that. The judge is just doing what the judge is supposed to do based off the facts and the circumstances of the case. But, people can't really see past their own selves. They can't see how they're hurting other people and the other people who are affected by them just not doing what they're supposed to do. Ma'am, nobody told you to have a newborn before you were ready. It's not everyone else's problem after. But it looks like she's about to start going into why this is what's wrong with America and all this type of stuff.
Which I knew. I mean, I figured that would happen. This is what's wrong with America. Everybody's trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with America. This is what's wrong with America. But honestly, I hated the house, so I'm not really mad about it. But it's just the process of like trying to figure out where all our stuff is gonna go, because I have a bunch of stuff. Like I'm living with my mom right now anyway, so that's not an issue. But for my boyfriend, it's kind of an issue. So we're just trying to figure out what's next. We do have 2 apartments that we can move in, but we won't be able to move in until like at least the 15th. So yeah, I'm not stressing about none of this shit though, honestly. I've stressed enough in my life, and at this point I'm just like, you know what? Jesus, take the wheel. If not, we gonna crash.
No, it don't work like that. You got kids. And see, I caught it at the beginning when she said, oh, the judge didn't give a F and I brought my newborn in there. She brought her newborn baby to court with her. Let's just be real. For sympathy, and when she didn't get the sympathy that she was expecting and felt entitled to, then now everybody's a bad person and this is what's wrong with America. Ma'am, why you didn't bring your boyfriend too? Oh yeah, that wouldn't have worked. Then they really wouldn't have felt bad if you brought your boyfriend that you've been living with. And I'm glad she mentioned that. And see, had she not mentioned that, we would have just went off thinking, oh, single woman with a kid and feeling bad. But whole time she's got a whole man. She's got a whole man. Is this the person who gave you the newborn? Are y'all just going to go ahead and lock this thing in and solidify this relationship? It doesn't sound like it. So why y'all having kids? And she's talking about, Lord, take the wheel. Well, how about you give their baby father the wheel? And let's see what he can do. I know you're getting evicted. Sounds like you chose either the wrong leader or you chose him at the wrong time in his life. And vice versa. He made a bad decision as well. But at the same time, if this goes bad, you're going to be the one carrying around this child throughout life. He's going to have to pay responsibilities too in regards to it. But listen, you're making decisions. And you can't be trying to make it seem like everyone else is bad because they're not giving you the reaction that you feel entitled to in a sympathetic way.
Airplane?
The caption says how my toddler and I ended up homeless.
Yes, it is an airplane. I know this is extremely weird, and you're probably like, well, what am I doing in front of these apartments? So, if you pay close attention, I lived on the 4th floor apartment at the very top to the right out of those 2 rows. Me and my son lived there for 2 years. However, I lived at this apartment complex for 5 years. There was a young couple that lived next door to me, and they were not black. So yeah, they weren't people of color at all. And we shared a wall. So if you look right next door on that top floor, you'll see. Well, unfortunately, the people that lived in there, the woman actually worked for this property management company. And with that being said, she used abuse of power to get me and my son evicted. October of 2025, me and my son were actually homeless, which I know that sounds so crazy. If you know me, I moved from Memphis at the age of 18.
Well, hold on now. Hold on. Man, people come on here to do story times and they just skip right on past the story every time. Hold on, ma'am. What do you mean she used abuse of power to get you evicted? You didn't give any context whatsoever. I feel like if it was truly if she was truly wrong in the situation and you truly knew that you were vindicated factually, I feel like you would have been very specific and you would have said all the details. So this is called a red flag when somebody's telling a story, when they just skip past the actual thing that the story is centered around. She just used abuse of power, huh? That could mean so many things. Why didn't you tell us what it was? And if so, why aren't you seeking? Listen, I know it, don't nobody got time to be as individuals and mothers trying to go in court and seek legal remedies. I understand. But you would have at least told the facts online so that people could advise you and maybe a lawyer would reach out to you in that case. But it sounds like it wasn't abuse of power, ma'am. It sounds like you were violating in some type of way that went against their policies that you signed for on the contract, which we see typically. And it sounds like you just had you had any other person living next to you, they would have just had to live with whatever policy violations you was breaking. But you had the property manager who wasn't going to let it slide. So it was just unfortunate, but really it was fortunate for the actual other people probably who live at the property. That's what it sounds like. And you have to let us interpret it how we try to interpret it because you didn't just tell us what it is.
I moved October of 2025. Me and my son were actually homeless, which I know that sounds so crazy. If you know me, I moved from Memphis at the age of 18. I moved to Murfreesboro to attend MTSU, and I created a life for myself here. My son was actually born in these apartments, and again, I lived here for 5 years.
Hmm.
The woman complained so much about regular toddler noise for a complete year to the point where I was afraid that they were going to do something to me and my son. They would repeatedly bang on my wall. They would repeatedly report to the office. Now, again, I lived next door to them for 2 years. I only received one lease violation. That was in December of 2024. In November of 2025,
Regular toddler noise. You said your baby was born there. Toddler's probably 4 or 5 at this stage. What is regular toddler noise? Is your kid being bad and you not correcting it? Listen, man, we just have to be honest. Some of your kids don't know how to behave. Y'all aren't, and I mean, it's no wonder why you're single. Usually, and historically and traditionally, the discipline used to be passed on to the man to do. And so that's missing in a lot of these kids' upbringing. And so a lot of times they are doing a lot of stuff that people who don't have kids don't want to have to deal with. It's for you to try to contain your child. Now, I understand there's some things that are going to be unavoidable. I can understand that. That's a fair point. But what we see a lot of times is that it's just off the wall and it really does start to become too much a lot of times. And for them to have had a valid excuse to be able to get you out of there, I would assume she had some type of proof. It's not hard to prove that if it's really that crazy. So that's kind of for you to address.
one lease violation. That was in December of 2024. In November of 2025, they chose to file an eviction against me, citing excessive noise and harassing behavior. Now, let's be clear. I was not the one beating on their wall. I was not the one being obnoxious. I was not the one using my abuse of power to get away with whatever I wanted to get away with. After several complaints to the office, reporting this behavior, reporting this abuse of power, reporting this retaliation, showing videos of my son, showing that he is a normal, active toddler, getting a letter from his pediatrician to prove that he is normal as can be for his age.
Man, what does that mean? I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna just be honest. Just from what I'm picking up, just from what I'm picking up, I think she was definitely being petty and getting in. I think she got offended the first time, and then I think she probably did start doing some harassing type of behavior because she felt some type of way, and I think she did f around and find out. I A lot of times in a lot of these cases, man, we come across so many self inflicted wounds to where it's like, well, you did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. And there was nobody to check this. There was nobody to correct this. And then when the consequences come down and then you find out all the ramifications and all the implications that that's going to come with for the long term, then it's like we want to flip it and we want to ignore all the aggressive behavior that was going on before and where you had a lot of opportunities to handle things in a better way, in a more mature way. And that's also typically what we see. And just from what I'm picking up, and I don't want to say that I'm being a little biased when she said Memphis, that she's from Memphis, but that added the little cherry on top. And if you know, you know.
He is a normal, active toddler, getting a letter from his pediatrician to prove that he is normal as can be for his age. This property management company still decided to evict me and my son. To live here for 5 years and to never have an issue until I moved next door to their employee. And let me be clear, I did not choose that apartment. I lived in a 1 bedroom for 3 years over here. And when I had my son, we needed more room. So I upgraded to a 2 bedroom. They gave me that unit. The property management company said, hey, this is the one we have available. I didn't opt in to live next door to their employee. That employee was an assistant manager. She was not black. She was not a person of color. Unfortunately, she used her abuse of power.
And see, this is how I know. Listen, man, we just gonna be real. We're almost in Q2 of this year. Q2 of this year is almost over. So my F's given are almost running out. You can tell by even how she's telling the story. She's trying to tell the story and garner sympathy and come across as the victim, and she still can't really contain her attitude. Can't you feel the attitude as she's telling the story? And it doesn't seem genuine. This doesn't seem like a genuine and sincere, I got victimized, I got harassed. This still seems like tit for tat, me against her. You just lost. See, y'all be trying to go tit for tat and back and forth with people, and then when you lose, you can't take it. And then you want to be able to have the avenue to then be the victim afterwards because you're still trying to win. But listen, people ain't just out here playing to win. They might have genuinely been frustrated and had a genuine case, and you're trying to win. You're trying to go tit for tat. Look at her attitude while she's telling this story. And it's like if you can't contain it for you on your own behalf to try to frame yourself as the victim, then I know you couldn't contain it when it was you against that lady and there was no consequences involved at that point.
He said, hey, this is the one we have available. I didn't opt in to live next door to their employee. That employee was an assistant manager. She was not black. She was not a person of color. Unfortunately, she used her abuse of power to the point where me and my son had nowhere to go. How does someone move from the city of Memphis at the age of 18, go to college, get a degree, make a name for herself, never get evicted, have always had a good job, never been to jail, never done drugs? How does someone like that thrown out on the street with a 2-year-old baby? That's what this apartment complex was okay with doing. Baby, I got police. Here we are, 8 months later, and I'm still fighting them in court. I ask myself daily, is this America that we live in where landlords can throw single mothers out
Oh wow.
on the side of the road and basically say, hey, even though you lived here for 5 years. We're going to side with our employee and we're going to kick.
Even if I'm being fair in this situation, even if I'm being fair, the best I can give her is that you were dishing out just as much as you were taking. That's the best I can give you based off of everything. I feel like the best that I can try to be is that you were dishing it out just as much as you were getting. You were giving just as much as you were getting. That's worst case scenario. I really think you were doing more. You were being the excessive one in the situation, honestly. But I'm going to give you some slack and say that it was 50-50 and y'all was both giving just as good as you was getting and you just lost. But notice what we hear again. See, I'm really good at pattern recognition. The first, we just got done watching a clip where somebody's like, is this the America we live in where they'll let single mothers? And now she just said it too. Is this the playbook that y'all keep saying? Is this why y'all keep becoming single mothers? Because you feel like the way that America is supposed to be and how it historically was is that you could become a single mother and you don't have to do nothing and be responsible for nothing and you can just be out of control? Is that the America that you pictured and that you desire? I'm going to be honest. That's not the America that I desire, where people can make decisions, not be responsible for their decisions, as well as then be out of control and terrorize other people with their out of control behavior and make other people have to deal with it. I don't want an America where there's no checks and balances and where people just running around here unchecked, and then their kids is unchecked, and then their kids become adults and then terrorize people too. We have to get this together. And one of the easiest ways I feel like to get this together is for people to be either more intentional or to stay together. But you would have to be able to cooperate with each other. We need cooperation. You don't seem cooperative. I'm going to be honest. It seems like you are fighting to keep everything in, what you really want to do, because I can pick up on energy and it's not going to go well. You got to check that. You got to address that. And, I get it. You got your degree. You're doing things. You're doing positive things as well. But we got to, even if she was wrong from the beginning, it's like in situations, we're just ready for the smoke. We're just looking for the smoke. We can't wait to get activated to where now we can just go at people instead of being okay with, okay, I'm not going to handle things this way. I'm going to handle it the right way. I'm not going to try to go back and forth and be aggressive and match your aggression. You don't have to do that.
We are proceeding with eviction for other than non-payment of rent due to the fact that Mr. Vieira made a threat to one of our employees. We issued a 3-day to vacate in the month of October, and they failed to vacate.
All right. So what was the threat?
Mr. Vieira made a threat that if my maintenance assistant entered his apartment, he would shoot him.
All right. Anything else?
No, we just asked for the keys as soon as possible.
All right. I'll hear from you, Mr. Vieira.
Yes, sir. At no time did I ever threaten the maintenance man. I have the police report here stating what happened, and it says that I was provoked by him. But on there, I never stated to shoot him. I told him if he came into the apartment without my permission, or that he could not come into the apartment without my permission, he said that he could.
They can.
I told him not without my permission. And he said, I have the keys. I can go in whenever I want. I told him that's an easy way to get shot. That's what they call the police.
We are
So they were going tit for tat. Well, see, that's how you handle things. That's how you frame your threat. That was a good way to frame the threat, but let you know. Because I mean, that is an easy way to get shot. That's true. Because if you're saying you could just now, they do have the ability to come in your apartment for good reasons, and I guess they probably do have it in the contract where they can come in wherever, because they can just come up with, oh, we need to check this, we need to inspect this. But don't use that. Don't say that like, oh, I can just come in your crib whenever I feel like it. Because I do believe, excuse me, I do believe you actually have to give some type of notice and let people know the reason why. I wouldn't think it can just be unregulated. You can just go in whenever you want. So if the maintenance man said those words, then that was a good retort. Yeah, that's an easy way to get shot. That's not smart. Don't just be coming in it. What do you mean you can just come in anytime? You have to give warning. This is this is where I habitate. That wouldn't be smart. You don't know what I'm doing in here. So I understand that. And I believe him. I believe that the police probably, if he said the threat in that way, then I think they probably said, yeah, that there was no provocation for you to say that you were threatened.
Yeah, this woman just got kicked off of Section 8 because she had a man living in her house. So here's a quick story. The lady's been on Section 8 for 7 years, finally starting to get her shit together. She allows her baby daddy to come live there. He's hustling out of the house or whatever the case may be, helping her out with the bills, doing whatever he can. They kick her out Section 8. He skates. He don't want no parts of her. He ain't helping her out. He ain't trying to help her get back up to get a placement for her and her kids, their kids. He just done straight up bounced on the girl. Now, it doesn't make no sense that she's
Her and her kids and their kids. So what we typically see is that a woman will have kids. Maybe a guy will have a kid or two, but I wouldn't be surprised she has 7 kids and only 2 of them is his. But your first indication that he wasn't ish. Listen, can we just go ahead and address the elephant in the room? If a man is willing to live with a woman under her free housing, knowing that she has kids, and knowing that by him being there, he is putting her and her kids' shelter at risk, as well as possibly other benefits or whatever. If he's willing to do that and take that risk, all solely for him to be able to get ahead, disregarding the risk that could have implied on you and your kids, the first thing that indicates is he doesn't give a ish about you or your kids. That's the first thing that indicates. But the second thing that indicates is that this is not the guy that, for one, you start having kids with, but ultimately that you should be trying to be with. But apparently, even with those things noted and written down, apparently they must have some other redeeming qualities that you like. And we see it. We see what these so-called redeeming qualities are. And for the rational minded, these are really other deal breakers. But for some reason, some of these ladies, they see other deal breakers and other bad qualities as redeemable qualities. And they like it. And they're enticed by it. And they'll put everything at risk for it.
just done straight up bounced on the girl. Now, it doesn't make no sense that she sacrificed her place of living in order to help him out, but then as soon as she loses everything, he skates. That's what a lot of men do out here. A lot of men don't give a damn about you and what you got going on as long as it benefits them. So she put herself in a situation thinking that if everything else fails, that he was gonna have her back. Now he's on her feet and she's on her ass. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this situation in the comments. Free game. Y'all, this woman.
I think if people are going to be being adults and fighting for equality, then we're either going to expect you to have discernment and know how to make the best decisions for your life and for your kids' life, or we're going to expect you to just be responsible for whatever you deal with. Because I would bet that in this third case, she done made these decisions. She done moved this man into her Section 8, knowing that he isn't supposed to be there and knowing what the risk could be if he is discovered. And then I bet you when she tells the story, she's going to be, is this the America we live in where a single can get kicked out on the street? And it's like, are you an adult or not? They were already taking care of you. And then you still had to F around and find out. So you don't want to be responsible for that? You know you're wrong. Is this the America that we live in where you can be blatantly wrong and egregiously wrong, and you can do something to hurt yourself that you knew better to do to begin with, and then you just get to blame everyone else? Is that the America that we're supposed to be living in? I don't like that. I don't agree with that. And I don't like that you are making these horrible decisions and then your kids are having to deal with the brunt of it. That's what I don't like. Apparently, see, because I'm the type of person, I'm going to be preventative with everything that I do. I like to mitigate against things. So if you truly want protection and you truly want to be provided for to make sure that you can't end up on the street or whatever, then are you willing to just go ahead and relinquish all of your autonomy so that the America that you live in can make sure that you don't end up homeless? Because the best way to make sure that you don't end up homeless is for us to go ahead and take the wheel of your life earlier so you don't make bad decisions that you can't sustain and maintain. But no, you want your autonomy. You don't want to be told who you can and can't date. See, because if you really want to be prevented from being homeless, then go ahead and sign something over to where we can supervise who you're dating. And then we can run background checks on them and we can cross-analyze them and interrogate them and interview them. And then we can make the decision or not of whether or not you're going to get in a relationship with them. Oh, no, you still want your autonomy. You still want to be an adult, right? Okay, well, then you have to deal with the consequences and you have to be responsible for your life because you don't want to hand that responsibility over, because it wouldn't even have to be the government doing that. Y'all don't even let the dudes in your family tell you this isn't no good. Y'all don't even listen to them. So you have to be responsible for your life and your decisions. Otherwise, give the autonomy over and be pleasant about it and don't fight it. Y'all, we'll leave it there for today. If you could like the video, I greatly appreciate it. It only takes a second, and it helps out more than you know. And also, if you can hype the video, hype is a new feature that YouTube offers where it helps smaller content creators like myself. And basically, when you hype, it actually pushes us to the extent that it pushes the larger content creators. So you just press the hype button and it shows the points. And since I'm a smaller creator, a smaller channel, we actually get more points per hype. And hype was designed for smaller channels, so that's why. But if you come across a video and you don't see the hype button, then it's probably been over 7 days, and hype usually vanishes after 7 days. So it's usually best practice, if you want to hype, to just go ahead and hype while the iron is hot on a newer video. And then also, if you want to become a member of the channel, the join buttons on the video. And what becoming a member of the DXU family would come with is you would get badges next to your comments where it'll show that you are a member whenever you leave a comment, as well as you would get early access to content and you would get exclusive content that's not available to everyone else on YouTube. So again, if you want to become a member, the join button's right there. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.